Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chelloveck Movies. My name is John and this video is going to be my top 20 banned video nasties released by 88 Films. This video is a response to a request by Louie Martin, and he made a comment on a video a couple of videos back, and he asked it, what would you be a top 10 banned video nasties by Arrow Video and also 88 Films. I thought that was an amazing subject to do, so I have done my Arrow top 10, which I'll leave a link to down below. So for me at the moment, it seems like 88 Films are releasing more of these movies, and long may it continue. I've got a good feeling about 2022. I think that 88 are going to release quite a lot of banned video nasties this year, fingers crossed. And I'm excited to see where it goes this year, because this has been one of my goals for this year, to pick up as many banned video nasties as I can, maybe to even complete one of the sections, section 1, 2 or 3. So unlike the Arrow video top 10, I don't know if all of these movies are still in print, so you might have to go looking for them maybe on eBay and stuff like that if you want to pick up the whole lot, if you're after collecting them all. Also, a quick heads up on a video that's coming up. I'm going to be doing my full horror collection. Now that's a bit of a funny title, because I've got loads of horror over here, loads of horror down there in DVD. But I'm going to predominantly do just this section here, which is horror Blu-rays that I've kept like separate to boutique labels. Also coming up is a bit of a behind the scenes of Mondo Chelloveck Movies. It's going to show you how I record my videos, how I edit them, how I get my inspiration, apart from great comments like Louie Martin's comment, and just a sort of update in the shelves and all that type of thing. I might take you through how I record music. So I'm working on that one. I don't know when that one's going to come out, but I did want to give you a bit of a flavour if anybody's thinking about doing a channel, and I know a lot of people are sort of on the fence, and just show you how I consider this to be so easy to do. So hopefully that would show you how easy it is to start a channel, and how literally you don't need that much stuff to get something that reaches people. And I'm interested in putting that one together, and that'll talk about what's happening on my shelf too as well. So that's another one coming up. I've got a lot of different bits of footage for that video. So I'm going to record lots of little bits of video to show you how I actually make these videos, and how I put them out, and what my schedule is and all that. It might just be something that somebody might find interesting. I like doing these behind the scenes things. I like diving into the fact of saying this is my channel and this is how it works. So anyway, let's get back to the main story. So coming up at number 20 is Mad Dog Killer. Now this movie here, I didn't even know it was on the list. When I was researching what movies were on the banned video nasties list, all three of them, I think it's on a section 3 one. This was previously called Beast with a Gun. So when this came up, when I was watching the trailers for them, I thought, hang on a minute, that's definitely that movie, and it was. It doesn't mention anything about it really, as far as I know, on this release, and I was quite surprised to see it on there. But really, I was glad to think, oh, well, I've actually got that one without even trying to get it. So this one's from 1977. It's spine number 16 in the Italian collection, and it's a good little movie actually, and it's got a 4K transfer as well. I think this one's still easy to get, and it looks really spectacular actually, and it is quite a nasty little movie about this fella who goes on a sort of spree, and he stops at nothing to get what he wants, and he's a bit of one of these outlandish sort of outlaws, and he takes this girl across like as hostage, and they go on a sort of, not both of them, but they get this sort of rampage through Italy. So it's a bit wild and a bit over the top for sure. So that's Mad Dog Killer. At number 19 is Evil Speak. Now this is a movie that I don't watch that often, to be honest, and it's very much needs a rewatch from me. But I do remember thinking that this, mainly because of the actor in here, Clint Howard, who I always have a good time with him. I think he's just such a great actor. Obviously it's Ron Howard's brother, and he's been in loads of these sort of low budget movies, and he seems to pop up all the time. And I tell you what, he always puts a great performance in. So if you see one with Clint Howard in, you know you're in for a good time, just for his sort of very underrated performances that he had. This one here is probably down to the fact that it's all these pranks in the schools and the way they're doing it. I don't think that wasn't very well taken with the BBFC. I think they had a big thing that people could copy it, and they didn't want to. They think that everybody would copy everything from these movies at that point. That was a lot of the reasons behind movies getting taken out, because of the copycat element. And you can hear a lot of copycat elements in movies like Clockwork Orange. Everybody was, well, not everybody, but certain gangs were dressing up like the Droogs, and they were hitting people with nunchuckers. That was from the Bruce Lee films, so they were copycats from that. So the Bruce Lee nunchucker scenes went. So that's a kind of thing that It was just a strange thing that the censors would always generalise that everything would happen because one person would hit somebody with a nunchucker. Then nunchuckers had to be banned from every single movie ever known to man. A strange one that got banned, or sorry, cut, was one of the Spider-Man, the 1977/1978 Spider-Man movies. There's a scene in there where there's Spider-Man's fighting these three sort of ninja experts with nunchuckers, and that scene was taken out completely, which is just bizarre. Those really do need a reissue. The 1977 Spider-Man movies, I thought they were absolutely brilliant. I used to love them. So anyway, getting back to Evil Speak, I do think that this movie is one of those ones that's very 80s, but I like these 80s movies that you can tell are from the 80s, and but it's definitely due a rewatch soon. It might go higher up in the list when I watch it, but that's at number 19. That's Evil Speak. At number 17 is the Boogeyman, or the Boogeyman, whichever way you want to pronounce it. This movie here, it absolutely looks spectacular on this release. It's probably one of the best picture qualities I've seen on a movie. This is one of the ones where you think you were expecting all these band video nasties to look really bad. And this one here looks anything but that. It's really, really good looking as a movie. The movie itself is more like a psychological drama kind of thing, like a Carrie type of movie. It's really good actually. It's very gory. The story it's got some strange twists in the story, and what I mean by not twists, I mean by the way that they sort of explain the story. It's a bit confusing at times, and I think that it let a lot of people scratching their heads a little bit as to what's really going on. That's another movie where you can just sort of just think, right, it is what it is. It doesn't make full sense. It's got a bit of the supernatural in it, but you just got to go with it and enjoy it for what it is. But the picture quality in here, like I say, is absolutely stunning. And the movie itself is, I know there's a part 2 to this, which was also banned, but I think the part 2 is more like a rehash of this movie with a lot of clips from this movie in, I believe, although I've never seen it. I will be wanting to try and get that, but it's a really hard one to get, mind. They could have done with putting it on as an extra on this movie, which would have been great, actually. So that's at number 17. That's the Boogeyman. So number 16 is Don't Go in the Woods Alone. This is a movie from 1981. It's very low budget, and it's considered to be one of the most worst video nasties for actual picture, like actual quality of a movie on this list. Now, personally, I had a great time with it. Now, only recently I've just realised that this is by the same director who's directing a few of the AGFA releases on 88 films, predominantly Lady Street Fighter and also Jungle Trap. He's the same director who wrote and directed this, and you can tell, mind. The only thing is it hasn't got Renee Harmon in, which is a bit of a shame. But I do need to go and revisit this movie because I had such a great time with Lady Street Fighter and also Jungle Trap and specifically. I do want to go and get this one watched again because I'm going to look at it with fresh eyes to say, is it as good as those movies? By good, I mean really bad in a good way, if that makes sense. So this one here is a 2K restoration of this movie. To be honest, it doesn't really look that good, but I think that this fella who does these movies these movies are they're probably kept in his garage, I think, in a box. So they're never ever going to look great, but it's about as best as it can look. But I think it's a very enjoyable movie from what I remember. But I do know I have to go back to this movie, and this movie might shoot up in this list on a rewatch because of the recent sort of love I have for this director and his AGFA movie releases. So that's at number 16. That's Don't Go in the Woods Alone. I like saying that. So at number 15 is SS Experiment Camp. Now this is a Nazi exploitation movie. Now I've got Gestapo's Last Orgy over there. Now you would think that that's the more accomplished movie and it's the more nasty of the movie. So you think to yourself, oh, the more accomplished nasty movie wins out on the SS Experiment Camp, which isn't as realised as that one. But far from it for me, because I quite enjoyed this movie for the fact that its storyline is so stupid that it's very enjoyable. Yes, it has got graphic stuff in here. I mean, all of these ones have. That's what they set out to shock by doing this sort of this Nazi exploitation trope. And Gestapo's Last Orgy, I think, is the one that takes it to a next level which isn't enjoying. To me, it's a bit more realistic and a bit more nasty than it should be. So this is on the Italian collection, and it is number 10 from 1976. And this movie does look quite good, actually. Looks much nicer than you would think. This was the first one that came out for me in the UK of this Nazi exploitation movies. And basically, it's this story is that this SS general he gets something or some things shot off in the war, and he's busy trying to find some soldiers who he thinks are the best soldiers. So what he's going to do with them is to obviously cut off 2 things of theirs and then reattach them to him, as you know, as you do. And it's the story of that. I'm not going to tell you if that happens or not. I'm not going to tell you this, but it's such a good movie by that premise of alone. This is what you're watching. It's more like a sort of it's more like a comedy, if I'm honest, with a sort of really dark tone. So it's highly recommended for me on that reason. So that's coming in at number 15. That's Essex Experiment Camp. At number 14 is The Devil Hunter. Now this one was so hard to get on even VHS and anywhere, you just could not get it. And when this was released by 88, quite a bit time ago, I thought, there's the original art there. I thought this is going to be this is an amazing movie to come out. To think that of its sort of obscurity, and it's not a bad transfer actually. But this movie is one of those ones. It's just such a laugh fest. It doesn't really make any sense. It's got this fella who's in this sort of jungle scene, and I don't know exactly what he is. He's some kind of zombie with ping pong balls for eyes, which is great, and you can tell that they are ping pong balls as well. And he sort of wreaks havoc on this island thing in this jungle, and I don't know how to describe it. It's just such a really bizarre movie. I think it's like an action adventure with a lot of other things thrown into it. But one of the things that's thrown into it is such a really good fun time. Now I've just looked there, and it's directed by Jess Franco, so that should tell you a lot about it. But this movie, this is one of the first ones when I thought 88 might start releasing a bit more Barn Video Nasties, which they have done. But this year, I think in earnest, they've ramped it up a bit, and some of the releases that they've got this year and more to come are just absolutely amazing. So if you want a laugh fest, this is the movie to go for. I find it so entertaining. It is really bad, but it's just there to me to be laughed at and enjoyed. So that's at number 14. That's The Devil Hunter. At number 13, unlucky for some, is The Toolbox Murders. Now this has just been released by Blue Underground on 4K, which I'm going to get. Now this one here, I don't see many of them have this on. This is a limited edition, probably the slipcover. And this is 858 of however many. This movie is a great movie, I find, and I do think that the picture quality in here isn't as good as the one that was released by Blue Underground on Blu-ray, but the 4K would be, I would imagine, absolutely spectacular. This does say a new 4K transfer from the positive elements, but I do think that this isn't as good as the other one, which is not as new as this remaster. But anyway, the film itself is it is quite nasty, and it does obviously, it's just the killer is taking his implements from a toolbox, and he's going around killing people with his toolbox basically. And but there's a lot more to it than this. It's got a kind of backstory which is quite interesting as well. This is from 1978, and it's spine number 30 in the Slasher Classics collection. So yeah, so this one's been released quite a few times actually, but I do think that the Blue Underground 4K, which will be the one to go for, which I will be getting very soon. So that's at number 13. That's The Toolbox Murders. At number 12 is Absurd. Now this movie is from 1981, and it's directed by Joe D'Amato, and who has made these type of movies with various sort of explicitness in other movies, shall we say. This one here is pretty brutal, mind, and you can understand why this was banned, because of there's a sort of storyline running through it about somebody who's attacked, and she has problems with mobility, so she can't get away. So I think that was a lot was made of that, with the fact that that shouldn't have been a trope that was introduced to this movie about somebody who's who's physically impaired to get attacked. So, but it is what it is. I mean, in the 80s, they just used to make anything they wanted, and I think that's why a lot of these movies fell foul, because a lot of these movies would never see the light of day now if they were actually going to start to make them. They couldn't get them particular storylines or story bits in them. But this movie here is, I think, is a really good movie. It's very brutal, and it sort of really is like the unofficial sequel to Anthropophagus, the Beast. It does feature the same fella who was Anthropophagus the Beast, George Eastman, who was nearly 7 foot tall, and you can tell in this one especially. This is about, actually, the storyline kind of is about this bloke who can't be killed, and you'll find out why in this movie. Same with Anthropophagus, he's got this thing where he can't be killed as well, kind of, and that's kind of explained in Anthropophagus, but not as much as it is in Absurd. This movie is kind of, I think it's why it's called Absurd, is because the premise is, it is quite absurd that somebody cannot die. But it is a quite enjoyable watch, and like I say, it's really brutal. And this was a really hard one to get as well on VHS. It was one of them ones that you just was great when you found it coming out, because you couldn't really get it even on a DVD. It was a really struggle to get it uncut and looking good as well. So that's at number 12. That's Absurd. So at number 11 is The Last Horror Film. This is a great movie. It's so much fun. You've got Joe Spinell and Caroline Munro as well, who was a Hammer star briefly, and she's a great actress. She's still going today, and she's very active on social media as well. If you want to contact her, she is quite contactable. And this is a kind of movie about Joe Spinell plays this stalker who's stalking this actress here. So this movie was shot with guerrilla tactics, where they would just go and rock up to the Cannes Film Festival and shoot some footage there and just use that as a backdrop. Obviously not being involved with that, but they were kind of pretending to be, which I thought was quite funny. And these two here have done 3 films together. They've done Maniac, The Last Horror Film, and also Star Crash as well, which is another fantastic movie. So yes, so this is another one for pure enjoyment factor. Joe Spinell is always great in his movies. I find he does this little bit of over-the-top acting really well, and I think these two had a great chemistry as well, which you can really see. And she does, Caroline Munro does talk really highly about him in the extras to this movie as well. So that's at number 11. That's The Last Horror Film. So once again, thanks to Louie Martin for the idea for this video. So now I'll be making part 2 of this video, and should be coming out very soon. So thanks once again, Louie. Thanks for watching. You take care, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.